Oh, we can start.
Okay, so thank you, Sri Bagavath, for giving us the opportunity to to learn from you. And last time we were discussing about the nature of the I am. What is this nature? And you said that this week you want to speak about everyday life, and the problems that come up in everyday life. So maybe you can say a few words about it.
Okay.
And then we can open it to discussion.
Namaste and welcome to all of you. Previously, we have hello. Hello. Everything is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Previously, we have seen the functioning of our mind. The first part, the part 1 mind, the part 2 mind. The part 1 mind is the emotional mind. We have many emotions. We have many feelings. That is natural in our mind. That is the first part of our mind. The second part of our mind is the intellectual part of our mind. With the help of our intellect, we are doing all our duties of the world. The first part is only emotion, but it is very natural. We cannot create the first part. We cannot deal with the first part. It is the natural outburst of our emotions. It happens unconsciously. We have no business upon the regulation of our first part, that is the emotion. The second part is the intellectual part. With the help of the intellectual part, we plan our activities, our actions of the world. So thereby, we execute our duties perfectly. The first part is an innocent part, just like the innocent nature of a child. We cannot entrust our duties to a child. We cannot entrust our duty to the innocent part, the first part. But at the same time, all our duties can be entrusted to the second part, that is the intellectual part. So here, we feel all right if the first part is okay. If you are happy, we feel we are satisfied. If you are unhappy, if you are having distress in the first part of mind, we feel we are not all right. So, anyhow, the function of the mind, the function of the first part of the mind is very much important to keep ourselves in a good state. But at the same time, the second part is doing many things in the world, many things in the duties of the world. But it has no duty towards the part 1 mind, that is the emotional part. It cannot saturate the first part. It is a natural part. It is not under the control of the second part. So here, if our psychological mind alone is there, if the first part and second part alone is functioning, there is no problem. But we have to face many situations of the world, many problems of the world. So in each and every moment, we have to plan our action, we have to plan our some expectations, and we have to work for the result of the situation, work for the result for our duties. So in that time, according to the situation, according to the problem we are facing, some emotional happenings will be there. That is happening in the first part of our mind. For example, we are facing a dangerous situation and we are walking in a dark night in a forest. Naturally, we'll have some fear in our mind. So the fear in our mind happens in the first part of our mind. So the fear comes to deal with the situation. Because of the threatening situation, we may be afraid of some snakes or some poisonous things may be there. So we have to be careful to go in the forest in the dark night. So in this way, each and every situation in the worldly life also, we have to face many things. Sometimes the situation may be very complicated and it may create some fear, or some anxiety in the first part of our mind. So here, what we have to do? What we have to do with related to the situation, with related to our mind? Is there any duty or is there any capacity for ourselves to meet with the emotions? Sometimes the emotion may be necessary, sometimes the emotions may not be necessary. Sometimes the problem, the outside problem may be a continuous problem. So the response in the first part, in the form of anxiety or fear or sorrow or anything, the problem may be in the response, may be in a living problem. So we have to deal with the first part, we have to deal with the second part, we have to deal with the problem in the world. So we have some duty, we have some responsibility to saturate ourselves in a peaceful condition of our mind. If we are peaceful in our mind, then only we are able to execute our duties in the external world. So how our mind, what our mind, because it is momentary, moment by moment it is new, it will not expect our rectification. But at the same time, sometimes because of the continuous problem in the external world, the psychological system also may be affected, and it may be also, it may looks like a living problem in the psychological world or in the physical world. So in this situation, what we have to do? How to deal with our mind, how to deal with the problem? Is the question for this week. We have to think and go further. In the beginning, if you have any idea or if you have any different kind of questions is related to the situation. You may put forward your suggestion or answer or question or anything on your part. And afterwards, we can go through the situation, go through the problem in our point of view. So thanking you. Lanier, you can summarize something.
Okay, thank you. So I will speak in Hebrew for just 2 minutes. אז שרי בגבת בעצם חזר קצת על מה שלמדנו איתו במפגשים הקודמים, על החלוקה בין שני החלקים של הנפש שלנו, החלק של הנפש הספונטני, שמעלה רגשות ותחושות בהתאם למצבים השונים שאנחנו חווים בחיינו. זה חלק לפי שרי בגבת אנחנו לא צריכים לגעת בו, הוא לא מקולקל ואין מה לתקן בו, הוא פשוט מגיב בהתאם לטבע שלו מרגע לרגע. ויש את החלק השני, האינטלקט, שהתפקיד שלו אמור להיות מופנה כלפי העולם החיצוני, אבל אחת הבעיות שהאינטלקט יוצר בעולם הפנימי זה ההתערבות שלו בתנועה הטבעית של הנפש מרגע לרגע. בזה שהוא אומר, יש רגשות מסוימים שצריכים להיות פה, רגשות אחרים לא צריכים להיות פה, מחשבות מסוימות הן טובות, מחשבות אחרות הן לא טובות, והוא מתערב. אז למדנו במפגשים הקודמים שהאינטלקט צריך להניח לעולם הפנימי להתנהל בצורה טבעית, אבל כאן נכנס אלמנט שלישי שהוא העולם החיצוני. ובעולם החיצוני יש לנו הרבה פעמים בעיות רגעיות, קטנות ובעיות מתמשכות. ואז אנחנו צריכים לראות איך אנחנו מתארגנים מבחינה פנימית כדי לתת מענה טוב לבעיות האלה שצצות. אז כרגע שרי בגבת מזמין אותנו להגיב ולומר מה אנחנו חושבים על איך אנחנו מתארגנים כדי להגיב בצורה טובה לאתגרים שעומדים בפנינו, ואחר כך הוא יגיד את ההשקפה שלו בעניין, אבל הוא קודם כל רוצה לשמוע מאיתנו מה אנחנו חושבים, ואם יש שאלות מכוונות בנושא הזה, שהוא יוכל ככה לענות עליהן. אז מי שרוצה לדבר פשוט ידליק את המיקרופון אצלו, וישאל ויחלוק וידבר. Okay, Sri Bagavath, I explained in Hebrew, and now I invited the people to share their views about the subject and maybe ask questions that is related to the subject, and then you can proceed.
Okay, I want to speak, Daniel?
Yeah, you can.
You see me, it's okay? My name is Ronit, and I can say that 2 years ago I was in India, and from since I changed a lot. I changed my thought, I changed my behavior, and I'm very happy that I have the meditation because it helped me a lot. Before I was like very tense and everything was like if something happened in China or something happened in Africa, I was very tense. And now I'm starting to think before I act. Like if something not big, small happened to me on the road or someone tell me something, I think, and I said to myself, okay, it's not his fault. Maybe he is in another place that I am, and I understand him, but I am angry for 2 seconds, and then I continue my life. I don't stay with the anger, and that's the best. But sometimes things that happened to me in the past that were very, very, very sad and very, very hard to me. So it's more difficult for me, especially now that the COVID is here and we stay most of the time at home and we don't go too much outside and the life is not the same. Most of the days I'm okay, but some days it's very difficult for me to accept what others are doing or telling me. Most of the time, I can say like 95% of the time, I'm okay. Sometimes 5%, I'm still angry about things that happen, but I can, so I do it okay. And I learned one thing very important on this time, that really my family, my Porch family, my children, my husband, is the most important in my life. So it makes me very happy. And thanks you for all you make for us.
Okay. Anybody else want to share?
עוד מישהו רוצה להגיד משהו בנושא הזה של התמודדות עם אתגרים מבחוץ, אתגרים שיום יום מגיעים אלינו, רגעיים או מתמשכים?
Hi, hello, good morning. I want to share something.
Okay. You can say something.
Thank you. I want to share about my son. I practice meditation with my children in the last few months, and my son had this. I don't know if it is a problem, but he used to, before he fell asleep, he used to swing right and left like this. Since I practice meditation with him, I told him just practice meditation before you go to sleep, and he stopped swinging in the last few days, and I'm very glad for it. It's something that it helps in various way in our lives, and it is one of the things that it helps, and you can really see it like something. I hope you understand me. My English is not very strong.
Bablalaya. Bablalaya.
சொல்லுங்கய்யா.
அவங்க என்ன சொல்றாங்க? அவங்க என்ன?
ஐயா, அவங்க வந்து குழந்தையோட மெடிடேஷன் பண்றாரு. குழந்தையோட மெடிடேஷன் குழந்தைய பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி தலை இப்படி ஆட்டு வர அப்படின்ட்டு சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காரு. அப்புறம் வந்து மெடிடேஷன் பண்ண பிறகு அது குறைஞ்சது அப்படின்றாரு. அதுக்கப்புறம் அவரால் இங்கிலீஷ்ல பேச முடியல அப்படின்றாரு. I can ask Mr. Lenir, you can, he had difficulty in communicating in English, so you can ask him in Hebrew and then translate to us in English. That will be nice.
Okay, no problem. אלי, שומע?
כן, שומע, אני פה, בטח.
אז תוכל להגיד בקצרה בעברית למה התכוונת?
אוקיי, מה שסיפרתי זה שאני מתרגל בחודשים האחרונים. סליחה רגע, ממש שנייה. סליחה. אני מתרגל בחודשים האחרונים מדיטציה עם הילדים שלי. הם בני 8 ו5. סיפרתי שלבן שלי היה מין מצב כזה שלפני שהוא הולך לישון, הוא מזיז את הראש שלו ימינה ושמאלה עד שהוא נרדם.
אוקיי.
אני התייעצתי עם אנשים לגבי זה, ואמרו לי שזה משהו שאמור להיפסק עם הגיל וכל מיני תשובות משונות. מה שהמדיטציה עזרה, זה שברגע שאמרתי לו לעשות מדיטציה לפני שהוא נרדם, הוא פשוט נרגע, הוא הפסיק להסתובב ימינה ושמאלה, ובימים האחרונים הוא לא עושה את זה יותר. הוא הפסיק עם זה אחרי תקופה מאוד ארוכה שהוא היה עושה את זה. זה מה שחלקתי, זה הכל.
בן כמה הוא?
הוא בן עוד מעט 6.
So Sri Bagavath Eli is just sharing his experience with his son that had a problem while sleeping. He was moving his head left and right. And nobody knew how to tackle this problem. Since a month ago or so, Eli started practicing meditation with his son and taught him how to meditate and told him should meditate a few minutes before you go to sleep. And then he said that this routine helped him to solve this problem. So his son is no longer moving his head from side to side, and he is having a good night's sleep without it.
Okay.
How old is his son, incidentally? How old?
6.
6.
האם יש עוד מישהו שרוצה לחלוק ולשאול בנושא הזה של התמודדות עם חיי היום-יום?
Any other sharing on the side of the participants? If no, I will proceed.
Mr. Danny, you want to say something?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to share is that for me, it's a lot about remembering. Am I in the situation or like outside of the situation? And what I've noticed is that when the situation is does not have any strong emotion, it's like flat. I'm engaging with people and talking and being. Then it's easier to forget. When there is a situation which is more strong in terms of feeling or emotion, then it's much easier for me to remember. When I say remember, I mean is to be aware of those emotions and not go along with them. This is what I mean by awareness or remembering. But continuously through the day, all the time in and out, in and out, in and out, in the situation and outside of the situation. Yeah, that's it. I hope I was clear.
Okay. Anybody else wants to share? Okay, shall I say something?
Yes, Sri Bagavath, please.
Okay. So here, the main problem is that the psychologically, the first part of our mind, the emotional part, if the emotional part is okay, we feel everything is okay. If the emotional part is not okay, we think we are not okay. So that is natural. But at the same time, when we face many problems of the world, according to the situation, different kind of emotion may come from ourselves. Some good emotions, bad emotions. So what we have to do, what we have to keep an equilibrium in all those things. So most of the time, we feel problematic in the psychological world. For example, we have to do certain things according to the outer situation. For example, we have some health problem for our children, for example, and we have to physician, and we have to take proper treatment. But we do not know what kind of physician we have to take, what kind of treatment we have to take. That cannot be decided very easily. So the decision making may be delayed because we cannot come to a conclusion very easily. To coming to a conclusion may be somewhat delayed. It may take some time. So when the decision making delays, naturally, it creates some anxiety within our mind, within the first part of our mind. So that is natural. So as early as possible, so the decision making is in our hand. Which type of treatment we have to take, which kind of physician we have to consult, that all those things belong to the second part of our mind, the decision making part. So as early as possible, we have to come to a conclusion. Unless we come to a conclusion, the first part of our mind always become restless. It will, because it wants to communicate through the emotions. It creates anxiety. It creates some depression or some other things. So then only it activates the second part. For that, it creates some kind of emotions like this. So our part is to come to a correct conclusion in the second part of our mind. Then only the first part will be all right. Till then, the first part will create unnecessary emotions, unnecessary feelings. We cannot directly do anything with the unnecessary feelings, unnecessary emotions. But at the same time, it is in our hand to get a correct conclusion with related to our external situation. That is in our part, that is in our capacity. So as early as possible, we have to come to a correct conclusion, come to a satisfactory conclusion for the external actions. So afterwards, our total concern is to execute the action, to carry out the conclusion. So then only the first part of our mind will be calm and will be in a good state of mind. So that is the main thing. Sometimes the decision making may not be easy. It may take time. So what kind of conclusion we have to arrive in that situation? Here we have to accept we have to wait. We have to come to a conclusion that we have to wait. So keeping ourselves in a waiting position is also a kind of conclusion. So here, if you come to the conclusion like this, then only the first part of mind will be calm. Otherwise, it will be restless. It will give some unnecessary emotions. So either we have to come to a correct conclusion, or we have to come to a conclusion like that we have to wait. So the way, keeping ourselves, selecting the waiting is also a conclusion. For the time being, it is also a conclusion. Then only the first part of our mind will be all right. So this is one part. The another one is that, for example, each and every day we are working from morning till night, we are working on various ways. So in the night, we take rest, we go to sleep. So that is the state of rest. So in this way, in the psychological system also, there is a place for rest. What is the place for rest? That is the I consciousness. The I am, the feeling of I am is the place for rest. Even though it is a kind of practice, but in some case of emergency, in some case of urgency, we can use it as a technique to meet the situation. So if the situation goes beyond control, it is not easily manageable, we can use this kind of technique. So the I consciousness is a place of rest. It is a neutral state of experiences, because each and every emotions, we think, I am having this emotion, I am having this anxiety, I am having this sorrow, I am having this happiness, I am having this fear. So in this way, each and every moment we have the feeling that I am existing to have the experience. Sometimes the experience may be in the form of happiness, sometimes maybe in the form of some sorrow, sometimes the experience may be in the form of anxiety. So whatever may be the whatever may be the way of experience, the experiencer is the same. The experiencer is the I consciousness. So the experience is always same. The experience maybe differs. Sometimes it may be in the negative one, sometimes it may be in the way of positive one, but the experiencer is always same. It is I am. The experience is always I am. The I am experience, it is also a kind of experience. Even though it is a kind of experience, this kind of experience is always same. It always expressed in the form of I am. But the experience may be different. The experiences may be in the form of negative one, as fear or sorrow. Sometimes it may be in the form of anger, some happiness, or in some kind of positive experiences. But at the same time, in the case of the experience of I am, there is no positive, there is no negative. It is neutral. The I am is neutral. The I am is always neutral to positive and negative. So if you keep your mind, if you keep your attention, if you keep your awareness on the I consciousness, for the time being, it will keep you all right. It will keep you in a balanced mind. So as a case of emergency, as a case of some exception, we can keep the I consciousness for the role, to keep ourselves in a neutral state. Thereby, for the time being, we can keep yourself in a neutral state and unaffected by the situation. So if you are not affected, if you are not affected psychologically by the situation, you can deal with the situation in a peace of mind, in a calm mind. So thereby, it will give you some support to execute the external situation, to face the external situation in a good way. So first of all, we have to have some conclusion in the second part of mind is related to the situation, what we have to do, what we should not do. So you have to come to a conclusion like this. Sometimes the conclusion may not be easy to arrive. So in that condition, we have to come to a conclusion that we have to wait. So anyhow, we have to satisfy the second part first. Then only we have to move to the first part of our mind. With relate to the first part of mind, we have to get the contact with the neutral part of our mind. The neutral part of mind and the neutral part of our experience is the I consciousness, the feeling of I am. So keeping ourselves in the feeling of I am, we will keep ourselves, keep the emotions of our mind in a neutral state for a time being. So it is not a, but we should not practice it as a regular practice. So for the some unexpected situation, because the situation may be very worse, we cannot deal with the situation properly. So in that situation alone, as an exceptional case, we have to deal with this kind of technique or practice. And Lionel, you can, if you want, you can ask to clarify the things, and you can explain in your own language.
Okay, thank you, Sri Bagavath.
Okay.
I have to say this is the, I think, one of the, maybe never I heard you use this technique. You always advise that it's not working, the technique of the I am. So it's the first time that I heard you really give an advice to abide in the I am. Even for as an emergency emergency
In case of emergency.
mental emergency.
Okay.
So I'll speak a few words in Hebrew and then. אז שרי בגבת הסביר כאן לגבי בעיות חיצוניות, והוא נתן דוגמה, למשל יש לך ילד שיש איתו איזושהי בעיה, ואתה לא יודע בדיוק איך לפתור את הבעיה הזאת, זו לא בעיה פשוטה, והרבה רגשות של מתח ואולי כעס עצמי והאשמה עצמית עולים, אבל אתה חסר אונים כי אין דרך אחת שאתה יודע שזאת הדרך הנכונה. אז במקרה הזה שרי בגבת אומרת שזה בעצם התפקיד של ה-first part, החלק הראשון של הנפש שלנו, הוא מייצר רגשות על מנת קשים, על מנת לדחוף אותנו לעשייה בעולם החיצוני. ועד שהסיטואציה לא תיפטר, זה לא יפסיק. זאת אומרת, ואין לנו דרך ישירה להשליט איזשהו סדר ברגשות הקשים שעולים, וככה זה צריך להיות, כי אחרת אנחנו לא היינו נדחפים לעשות פעולות בעולם החיצוני. אבל אם המצב, אז לכן אנחנו צריכים להגיע כמה שיותר מהר למסקנה מה עושים ולאן הולכים, ורק כך העניינים יירגעו. אם אנחנו בסיטואציה שאין לנו אפשרות כזאת, אין לנו אפשרות להחליט מהר, והדברים הם לא ברורים, אז המסקנה שאנחנו צריכים להגיע אליה זה שאנחנו צריכים לחכות. שזה מעין מסקנת ביניים כזאת, שאנחנו מחכים. וההחלטה הזאת, ביניים הזאת שאנחנו מחכים, היא בעצם תיצור איזשהו שקט עבור הנפש שלנו. לאחר מכן, שרי בגבת אמר שאם אנחנו מגיעים לסיטואציות שהן באמת מאתגרות ברמה שאנחנו עומדים עם סיטואציה שאנחנו לא מרגישה overwhelming, מרגישה שהיא מציפה אותנו. אז זה אומר שיש טכניקה שאפשר להשתמש בה, שהרבה מאיתנו מכירים אותה, שזה לשהות ולנוח עם תחושת האני. תחושת האני הבסיסית שלנו, שליוותה אותנו מהרגע שאנחנו זוכרים את עצמנו עד עכשיו. אותו אני שאנחנו מרגישים שהכל קורה לו. אז באותם רגעים אם אנחנו יכולים לנוח בתוך התחושה הזאת, האני הבסיסית, ולתת לרגשות להיות כמו שהם, מה שקורה זה שאנחנו בעצם מנטרלים את ההשפעה של הרגשות עלינו, ואנחנו יכולים לשמור על שקט נפשי על מנת שנוכל לפעול בצורה מאוזנת בעולם החיצוני. אבל שימו לב שהוא נותן את זה רק כאמצעי חירום, גלולה שאנחנו לא אמורים להשתמש בה כל יום או כל הזמן, אלא רק במקרים נדירים שבהם אנחנו מרגישים שזה too much for us, שזה יותר מדי ואנחנו לא יכולים, אז אנחנו יכולים לנוח בתוך תחושת האני הבסיסית הזאת, ועל ידי זה לאפשר לנו להתמודד טוב יותר עם הסיטואציה שעומדת בפנינו. Okay, Sri Bagavath, so I explained it in Hebrew, what you said, and you wanted people to ask or share about this kind of explanation, so אז מי שרוצה להגיב על מה ששרי בגבאת אמר, או לשאול, לחקור יותר, לברר בנושא הזה, אז מוזמן עכשיו לעשות את זה. So I invited the people to ask questions about it. אז פשוט לפתוח את המיקרופון שלכם ולדבר עם מי שרוצה.
Okay, hello Sri Bagavath. Namaste.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, so regarding, I want to share also my experience in this matter of sometimes a situation in life gives me the feeling that I am in a relationship with life, and I can see that if things are not going my way or the way I want them to go, I start to feel about life that's some kind of a relationship with life, like I don't want to play this game. I didn't want this thing to be as they are, so I don't want to participate like this or like that. So all those kind of feelings, and this makes me understand that the way to feel peace in this life is to be able to accept what life brings me without any conditions, without any preconditions or any ideas about how life should be. And I can see that this is the main problem, that I want things to be in my way or in the way to make me feel good, and if they're not, so I don't want to play the game anymore, or I hate the game. And I can see that this is this kind of acceptance, or the language life talks with us. Maybe they give me this situation, maybe they would give me another situation different, but it will always come to the same thing, that we wish life to be in one way, and if they're not, so we have relationship with life. I want to play the game, or I don't want to play the game. I love life, or I hate life. And this is quite, how to say, I feel, I mean, this is not what life really wants us to be. I mean, so I just want to share that that this experience with the living life, I'm living life, like it's two different things, and the understanding of letting go from what I feel life should be is what life really wants me to do, or to let go of. And I feel this is sometimes the situation, they are very big, but maybe any situation, any other situation would bring me to the same conclusion. It's just, it really doesn't matter if life gave me this situation or they could give me another to understand this point.
So the situation will be different. Different kind of situation will be coming. That is the nature of our life. So when we meet with any situation, naturally our emotion will be to deal with the situation. So it will be natural. For example, so some close relative of ourselves get met some accident. So if you know the incident, naturally we'll have some fear or anxiety in our mind. So that is a natural response. But at the same time, if you have some duty to attend to the affected person, naturally the response will not be anxiety and other things. So what you have to do, that alone, for that alone, the emotion will be helpful. The helpful emotion alone will come to execute the duty. So here, the main thing is that we have to come to a conclusion what we have to do in the situation. So that if you come to the correct conclusion, the emotion will be coming to execute the conclusion. So some balance we have to understand. We have to have some balance with the conclusion and the emotion of the first part. That is the natural relationship. So we have to establish a natural relationship by come to a right conclusion or correct conclusion to the situation. If the correct conclusion is not possible, either we have to come to a conclusion that we have to wait. So if you come to a conclusion like this, we have to wait in this situation, we have to wait for the further proceedings, then the unnecessary emotion will not come. So the emotion also, some satisfactory emotion to execute the waiting also. So you will have some peace of mind in that situation also, because you accept the conclusion that we have to wait. So in this way, we have to meet the situation.
Yeah, I have a question. So,
okay,
you just shared two two methods of how the second part can help the first part, and my question is, how is that in relation to what I've always understood your message, that the second part doesn't have any duty on the first part. So just by understanding that the second part doesn't have any duty on the first part, just by that, things come in the first part, but they cannot remain because they need the involvement or the active participation of the second part. The second part is not there to participate, then they just disappear. They can come again and again, but they cannot stay. They just disappear. They come and go. And my question is, is that a different way to handle that, or there are situations which this approach of second part doesn't have a role in the first part? There are situations where this is not good enough. I hope I was clear.
So actually, the second part alone is in our hand. First part is not in our hand. The first part is a natural part. It is beyond our control. It is the action of nature. It is not a created part. The second part alone is in our control. We have to deal with only the second part alone. So so how to deal with the second part? If you in some hard situation, either we have to have a conclusion in this way or that way. So the conclusion is necessary to deal with the situation. This is related to the second part. So if you come to a conclusion in a right way, naturally the functioning of the first part also will be in support of the situation, in support of the second part or anything. So here, anyhow, our control, our dealing only with the second part, only with the situation. But we cannot deal with the first part. First part is the natural part. So that we have to understand. The second part has to understand that we have no control. We cannot deal with the first part. So that we have to understand like this. But if you keep our attention and in the eye consciousness is also, it may be a duty of the second part. It is not the duty of the first part. But at the same time, in some way or other, we have a chance of good functioning of the first part in that case. But anyhow, all those duties are related to the second part alone. We cannot impose any duty upon the first part because it is not under our control.
So, Sri Bagavath, you mean that the second part has a certain
Second part is our intellectual part.
Yeah, the intellectual part. We should keep it in his in what he's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to deal with the outer situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by, in a way, keeping it dealing with the outer situation, we prevent the mess that is created when those two parts get mixed together, right? Because many of the problems they happen because of the maybe all the problem, the second part mixed with the first part, with the what should I do with what I feel, and how should I get rid of certain feelings, uncomfortable and etc. So you say if you keep the second part, the dealing with the outer situation, then they don't get mixed, right? Am I?
So, but the second part will be, it wants to do anything, even though the second part may interested to deal with the first part also. But at the same time, it cannot do. The only thing to the extent is that it has to go to it has to practice a neutral state. Neutral state, that is the I consciousness. To that extent, it can do something. Otherwise, it's also an indirect way. It is not direct dealing of the first part. The second part is dealing the first part in an indirect way by going to the I consciousness, the feeling of I am. Then it thereby it creates some neutral state, some possibilities of neutral state. But at the same time, it has the duty only to execute, participate in the external actions alone. For that, you can make use of the emotions. The emotions comes from the first part. The second part can make use of that to execute the actions of the world, actions of the situation. Okay.
Would you say, if you already opened this practice of I am for emergency calls, wouldn't you say that if I extend it a bit, would it be beneficial to persons, to people, to spend a few minutes every day in this neutralized state, just as a good maintenance treatment for the mind, you know?
Okay, no problem. You can have, but at the same time, you have to understand the main concern is to deal with the external situation. After come to a conclusion like this, you can have this practice like this.
So it can be used as a means of maintenance of a good functioning of the mind.
Okay.
But it is not necessary. It's not that you have to do it in order to keep yourself in a good situation.
So just like doing many things, we can do this thing also. What's the problem of doing like this? It is also a good thing. Just like to saturate everything, we can saturate the natural functioning of our mind also.
The problem with this, I feel, in my case, that I feel that the crux of the problem of the human situation is the me, the I, wanting to change what is, wanting to control, wanting to interfere and to dominate. And this practice actually, in some ways, encourage, it strengthens this this tendency to control, because there is some manipulation of the inner state there. So for me, when it is very tempting to go to the I am, because it is relatively easy for me to do that. But what I've noticed is that when I'm doing it, first of all, I'm always exceeding the limits, so I do it throughout the day. And second thing, it is like strengthening this tendency of control, which is in the first place the core of the problem, that you want to control and manipulate and dominate your state of mind. So,
but as a place of rest, we can use it, but at the same time, we should not use it as a weapon. Then only we can deal with everything with the help of the I consciousness, the feeling of I am. That is not necessary. Previously, it is taught that we have to be always in the I consciousness. We have to abode in the I consciousness. That is the spiritual world. That is the spiritual height of our seeking. But it is not so like this. As a neutral state, as a place of rest, we can keep our mind for it some time in the place of rest. That is also necessary, because in some unwanted situation, naturally the first part of mind will be in a restless state. It may create unnecessary emotion like this. So in that state, make everything in an order for the temporary support. We can have this kind of practice.
So actually, this was the discovery of the Buddha, that
discovery of Buddha is not this.
Okay.
Discovery of Buddha is to leave everything.
Yes, I mean, because
not get anything. We have to leave everything.
Exactly.
That's the discovery of Buddha.
Because this is exactly what I meant. Because the practice of abiding in the I am was already known in the time of the Buddha. Yes, this is an ancient practice.
Or maybe.
And the Buddha actually said, no, there is no self. There is no self to abide in. So he actually released everything. So, because he didn't find maybe the absolute remedy in abiding in the self, in the I am. He didn't find that this is the absolute remedy. This is the absolute liberation.
Yeah. Okay. I think the time is over.
Okay.
So I think we can meet. We can continue.
We continue next week.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Bagavath. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very much. Bye. So I'll stop recording now.
Yeah.